Hey guys, it's Josh at Cardinal Offroad, and today I'm installing a rear drive shaft to my Jeep TJ. Now if you followed my build, I did a 1-ton swap, Dana 60 front, Sterling 10.5 rear, stretched the wheelbase approximately 112 inches. When it comes to getting a drive shaft custom made, there's a lot of companies out there. I can't tell you what's best and what's worst. I can tell you Adams Driveshaft is definitely a good company, and the only reason I say it is because I've ordered, I think this is my third or fourth drive shaft I've ordered from them. I've had zero issues with the drive shafts. I've abused the heck out of my Jeep and they've held well. The customer service is really good, and to get a drive shaft made is very quick. So I think they come out, it's California, but if you order, within a few days you're going to have the drive shaft. When you order the drive shaft, it's going to come with 4 bolts, and then I went ahead and ordered a set because I don't have a set for the other side of the flange. If you already had a drive shaft, you should have those. And then it's going to come with a little thing of Loctite as well for the bolts. And then to install these bolts, a 12-point socket is what I would use. If you can get a ratchet, you can use that as well. So when it comes to measuring for your drive shaft, it's not that difficult actually. Just obviously you need to make sure your suspension is completely set up. If you build everything, make sure your axle is where it's going to be. The drive shaft should really be one of the last things you should be ordering. If you need to know where the drive shaft is going to be in your Jeep, it's best to use a piece of PVC to see if it's going to clear and stuff like that. When it comes to measuring, if you got flanges, it's very simple. You're going to take your tape measure and measure flange to flange, flat to flat, pretty much dead in the center if you can. When you take those measurements, you're going to take them at full bump, ride height, and then full droop. And the reason you're doing this is because as your axle articulates up and down, the drive shaft to move in and out right here. You kind of see where it's blue there. That's where it was like this when they painted. But this drive shaft is going to slip in and out depending on where that axle is at. So what you don't want is this to be too short, because then what happens, this is actually just going to pull apart, and then your drive shaft to be in 2 pieces. You have to put it back together. You don't want it to be too long though, because if it's too long, this is going to go all the way up in here and it's going to bottom out, and then your suspension is not going to be able to flex the way it should. So you want to make sure that when you measure correctly. That way you have enough space here for the axle to move in and out. The only thing that I did differently when I ordered this drive shaft is I ordered a different flange for my 241 transfer case. The reason I did that is because I plan on going to an Atlas down the road, obviously when money is available, and with doing that it wouldn't be bolted up correctly. So what I did is I got a flange made from Adams Driveshafts. They sent me a flange that has the bolt pattern to be the same, so that way if I change out the Atlas, I can pull that out, put this back in, and I'm good to go. Otherwise I would have to get this changed to bolt up correctly. So if you're going to an Atlas down the road, it's probably not a bad idea to go and get that flange changed out. Also, I think the 241 transfer case flanges are kind of hard to find. I don't know how, if there's a lot of them out there. So with having this flange, this is something simple. I can call up Adams Offroad and get another one. If that would, somehow I would break that thing, and I would have to do that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take this drive shaft underneath the Jeep and bolt it up. One tip that kind of help you out when you're installing drive shafts: it is easier to install it on the transfer case side first, and the reason being is because there's not a lot of room up here, and then you can start to install it and you can turn the drive shaft to get to the other bolts. So especially if you're trying to, if I can get right here, if you're using a wrench to tighten them up, you can probably only access it right here. You're probably not going to be able to get the wrench up in here in this tunnel. So you can get this one, turn it, and then this one will come down here, tighten it, and just keep turning around and tighten those up. Then when you come around to the axle side, you have all this extra room, so it's a lot easier to get around. So that's the one thing I do when I install drive shafts. Always install it on the transfer case first, because then you can turn it. If you install it here, and then you go to install it on the transfer case, you're not going to be able to turn this because you have your wheels and tires on now.
when you gotta tighten these up with a wrench, this is what I usually do. I'll take my wrench, I will put it on one of the sockets, and then I will take it, grip it real hard with both hands, and twist this drive shaft around where it hits the tub, just to tighten those up. Otherwise, because this is obviously moving around, it's going to be kind of hard to grab it on the wrench and then try to keep it tight without it spinning like that. Obviously, when you hook it up to the axle, it's going to not spin, but it's going to be kind of hard to get up there. I mean, what you can do is, if you want to do it that way, get in your Jeep, move it a little bit forward each time to where this wrench gets down here. But what I usually do is I just put that wrench on there, just like that, and it'll tighten that up. Once you're done, it's a good idea to go around and tighten up all the bolts and just make sure that they're tight on the axle side and also your transfer case side.